Hey guys, welcome again. Sports, shorts, of sorts. Your boy Ren City, doing it like we do every week. Coming at you with the last week of sports with a little short at the end to make you say, what? Maybe. We'll see what's up. But we'll start every episode like we do, honoring the jersey number that coincides with the episode number. So being episode 59, let's hop right to it. We'll start with, a few episodes in the 50s, just because in football, that's how the numbers work. We're going to start with a linebacker, just like last episode. And just like last episode, we're going to start with another Pittsburgh Steelers legend, teammate of last week's mention, Jack Lambert, number 58. We're going to honor his teammate, number 59, Jack Ham. A couple of Jacks. Ham may not have got as much attention as Lambert, but some even say Ham was the better linebacker. Played college football for the Penn State Nittany Lions, and in his 3 seasons, starting linebacker, the team went 11-0, 11-0, 11-0, and 7-3. So all he did was win, In his senior season, he was named a consensus All-American, which led to the Steelers drafting him in the second round of the 71 NFL draft. During his rookie season, he'd win the left linebacker starting job, and from there he'd be a constant fixture on some really good Steelers defenses. His quickness at the linebacker position was something else. He'd unleash big hits, but he could also cover like a safety. This kind of play was integral to Steelers winning 4 Super Bowls in the 70s. Winners of Super Bowls 9, 10, 13, and 14. Jack Ham was a 6-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro, and made 8 Pro Bowl appearances. He was named to the NFL 1970s All-Decade team, and he was named to the NFL's 75th and 100th anniversary all-time teams. Steelers honored Ham by inducting him into the Steelers all-time team and their Hall of Honor. And like mentioned in Jack Lambert's portion last week, the Steelers are a franchise not known for retiring numbers. They just have 3 retired. Ernie Stautner's number 70, Joe Green's number 75, and Franco Harris that we talked about in episode 32. Regardless of his jersey being retired or not, Ham is a Steelers legend through and through. He's inducted to the Pro and College Football Hall of Fame. And he's also been an advocate for marijuana legalization. He says it's helped deal with the issues that stem from playing football. So he said it also could help with the opioid addiction crisis. I mean, hey, I'm all for him. I'm agreeing with him. Another linebacker who is not talked about enough. So, we got to give Jack Ham some more credit here. Excuse me. Some people I was even reading consider him the greatest outside linebacker in NFL history. So for a guy that's underrated, this is some pretty high praise. So we should pay more attention to him. Excuse me. The next 59 on the football field is, you guessed it, another linebacker. Another fantastic player who was a hell of a leader as well. I'm talking about London Fletcher. London Fletcher did not take your regular path to the NFL. He played college ball at John Carroll University, where he also played basketball for the John Carroll Blue Stakes. Great name, by the way. He'd set a school record for tackles his senior season and was named the Division III Linebacker of the Year. Playing in Div 3 did not help his draft stock, though, and despite a 4.38 in the 40-yard dash, he was still not one of the 30 linebackers drafted in the 1998 draft. St. Louis would take a chance on Fletcher, signing him to a 1-year, $158,000 contract. What a deal that would turn out to be. He'd force his way into the defense with his great play. The following season, he'd take the starting middle linebacker job. Just a tackling machine for the Rams. He was a big reason the Rams won Super Bowl 34 over the Tennessee Titans. A few years later, he'd help get the Rams back to the Super Bowl, but they'd lose Super Bowl 36 on an Adam Vinatieri kick for the Patriots. But the following season, Fletcher would sign a 5-year deal to join the Bills, and there he put up consistent numbers and was a great leader on some really good Bills defenses. After his contract with the Bills ran up, Fletcher would sign another 5-year deal, this time to join the Washington Redskins, as they were called at the time. He'd immediately be given the starting middle linebacker job, he'd take over defensive co-captain, and he'd hold that position until he retired. During his time with Washington, he would get named to 4 straight Pro Bowls, and he had always been an alternate, always for the Pro Bowl, and he never got the nod as a starter, so it was cool to see him get that. Also during his time in Washington, he'd earned 2 second-team All-Pros. he was loved in Washington. When he retired, his 215 consecutive games started is an NFL all-time record for consecutive starts by a linebacker. The guy was durable. He's second all-time on career combined tackles, just behind Ray Lewis. You might remember from episode 52. Fletcher's been inducted into the Washington Commanders Ring of Fame and was named one of the 98th greatest commanders. He's been inducted to the College Football Hall of Fame, and I was quite surprised to see he's not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Pound for pound, he may be one of the most underrated linebackers in NFL history, but maybe I'm a little hyperbolic there, but we'll see. The next 59, another linebacker, another damn good one. A guy who played his entire career with the Carolina Panthers. Talking about Luke Kuechly. Kuechly was a beast playing college football for the Boston College Eagles. As a true freshman, he'd get the starting outside linebacker position. Unfortunately, because his teammate Mark Herzlich would get diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, a rare form of cancer. But don't worry, he'd end up having a full NFL career, and he works color commentary covering football, so good for his luck there. But Luke Kuechly, man, he'd have that spot. He'd light it up for Boston College, win ACC Defensive Rookie of the Year. That same season, he was first team All ACC, an accolade he would get in each of his 3 seasons with Boston College. He was named All-American his sophomore and junior season. And that junior season, he won ACC Defensive Player of the Year, as well as numerous awards for the linebacker position. Jack Lambert Trophy, Butkus Award, Lott Trophy, Lombardi Award, Bronco Nagurski Award. Any kind of hardware Luke Kuechly had it. He'd enter the NFL draft, and the Panthers would select him 9th overall in the 2012 draft. And he'd carry that beast status into the NFL. His rookie season, yes, his rookie season, he'd lead the NFL in tackles. On his way to winning NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, the 3rd youngest recipient of NFL history. The following season, Kuechly would prove that it was not a fluke. He'd improve his game even more and win NFL Defensive Player of the Year, joining Lawrence Taylor, who you'll remember from episode 56, as the only players to win the Defensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year in successive seasons. To go even further, Kuechly joined Taylor, Mean Joe Green, Jack Lambert, Dana Stubblefield, Charles Woodson, Brian Urlacher, and Terrell Suggs as the only players to win both of those awards. So it's pretty elite company there. And during that award-winning season, Luke Kuechly would also tie an NFL record for most tackles in a single game. 24 tackles in the game. He was literally all over the field. He shares that record with David Harris, who had done the feat 6 years prior. Following season, Kuechly again led the NFL in tackles, and it was the 2nd time in his career. And then the following season, he was made the highest paid middle linebacker by the Panthers, just because he was a beast. But that season, Kuechly would get the first of what would become many official concussions. He was able to make it back on the field and help the Panthers get to the Super Bowl, but unfortunately for them, they would lose Super Bowl 50 to the Denver Broncos. Kuechly would require surgery for a torn labrum, an injury that I guess he played with that whole postseason run to the Super Bowl, but he'd continue to dominate on the field until he'd get a concussion. It was reoccurring, it would happen too much, and after only playing 8 years in the NFL, Kuechly would have to retire at the age of 28. You can't mess around with concussions, especially with what we know about CTE. But man, talk about packing a punch in an 8-year career. I mentioned NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, 5 first-team All-Pros, 2 second-team All-Pros, 7 Pro Bowls, led the league in tackles on 2 different occasions, including that rookie season, which is crazy. He was named in the NFL 2010 All-Decade Team. He wore number 40 at Boston College. They retired that. And he got inducted to the College Football Hall of Fame. He didn't have a lengthy career, but if you're looking at peaks here, he's got one of the best peaks in the NFL. I think he's got to get inducted to the Hall of Fame and maybe get his number 59 retired by the Panthers. I think the latter might be done before the former, but we'll see. Another 59, another linebacker. Probably one of the biggest reasons he's become such a great coach was his leadership on the field. I'm talking about current Houston Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans. He played at the University of Alabama for head coach Nick Saban, where he started out as a backup for getting on the special teams and working his way in the starting lineup. He was great there. In the senior season, he took it to another level, getting first team All-SEC on his way to winning SEC Defensive Player of the Year. He was also unanimous All-American. This led to him getting drafted. A great NFL career. He was a Houston Texan for most of his career. Right out of the game, he went into coaching, working his way through the ranks, doing great things with the San Francisco 49ers defense, where he then got the head coaching job at Houston, and people are like, geez, this isn't a good job. Why would he take this? Well, he took the job and he turned them around with rookie C.J. Stroud, got the Texans into the playoffs, and the Texans are looking good. They got Stephon Diggs. It's good to be in Houston right now. So, and that's all because of D'Amico Ryans. What he's done for the franchise is huge. Great player. Might even be a better coach. But the last 59 mention is in the NFL anyway. He had a solid career playing linebacker, Donnie Edwards. Played college football at UCLA, where he also played baseball. He put up big numbers at UCLA. He was a third-team All-American, leading to the Chiefs drafting him in the fourth round in the '96 draft. Edwards spent his first 6 years with the Chiefs, and he put up decent numbers, but when they couldn't come up to a contract agreement, he would leave to join the San Diego Chargers, and with the Chargers, he'd elevate his game even more. Twice getting named second team All-Pro, where he'd make the lone Pro Bowl of his career. But also while with the Chargers, Donnie Edwards joined the elusive 2020 club, a group that has 20 sacks and 20 interceptions. Edwards is one of 15 players in that group. Very elite group there, and he returned to the Chiefs to play the last 2 seasons of his career. And a great linebacker that happened to play during the time of other great linebackers, so he was a little bit overshadowed, but a great linebacker to wear the 59 nonetheless. We'll leave the gridiron. We'll go with the baseball diamond. First 59 to be mentioned is right-handed pitcher Carlos Carrasco. He signed with the Phillies as an undrafted free agent back in 2003. He's in the minor leagues for years, but he would never make it to the show for Philly. He was involved in a trade that sent him to the Cleveland Indians, as they were called. He'd end up making his debut with the team and struggled a bit, even having an incident against the Royals where after giving up a home run, he'd throw a fastball at the next batter, leading to an ejection and suspension. After more starts with Cleveland, Carrasco would require Tommy John surgery. And when he came back from that injury, he was struggling again. And again, he'd smoke a batter, leading in another suspension. He'd go back to the minor leagues for a stint, but he worked on his game. And when he came back, he was looking good. But then he took a line drive to the face where he'd get stretchered off. Luckily, it was just a bruised jaw, and he'd come back all right. He'd continue to improve and threw the only second immaculate inning in Cleveland's history, and only the 84th person to do the feat. Now remember, an immaculate inning is when a pitcher strikes out 3 batters, 3 pitches per batter. It's crazy that that's only been done by 84 different people in the whole history of baseball, but it's pretty rare. He'd also lead the AL in wins in 2017, but then in 2019, it was revealed Carrasco was diagnosed with chronic myelogenous leukemia, a treatable form of leukemia, but he'd have to take away time from baseball. He'd come back and he'd get traded to the Mets, where he struggled a bit before becoming a free agent. And in a world of full circles, Carrasco would sign a contract to join the Guardians, where he made the roster, and he's currently pitching this season. A remarkable comeback story for the Venezuelan pitcher. Good on him for overcoming adversity and continuing to do what he wants to do. The next 59 in the MLB to make the list, reliever Todd Jones, the relief pitcher taking the first round of the '89 MLB draft by the Houston Astros. Starting out as a setup man, he worked his way to the closer role. He'd leave the Astros for the Tigers, which was probably his most successful run in the major leagues. In 2000, he would convert on 42 of 46 save attempts. This was a Tigers franchise record that would get broken 11 years later by Jose Valverde. But Jones led the American League in saves that season, and he'd even win the Relief Man Award. That was his lone All-Star appearance of his career, and the following season he struggled a bit, losing his closing role. He would then wind up playing with the Twins, Rockies, Red Sox, Reds, Phillies, Marlins, before returning home to where he had the most success with the Detroit Tigers. And in his second stint there, he'd become the all-time leading saves leader in Tigers history, finishing with 235 saves for the franchise. And he joined the elusive 300 save club. His 319 saves have him 23rd on the all-time saves list. That's crazy. Jones would lose his closing position one more time in Detroit, losing it to Fernando Rodney, a name you might remember from episode 56, except I butchered it there. But Jones would call it a career at the age of 40, a reliable pitcher that donned the 59 while doing it. Sticking with pitchers, we'll go to a current one wearing the 59, Houston Astros pitcher Framber Valdez. The Dominican Republic-born Valdez has spent his entire career with the Houston Astros, signed as an international free agent at the age of 21, which is usually a little older than amateur international free agent prospects, but he'd spend time in the minors before getting called up. He pitched decent, but seemed to have troubles on the mound. He was urged to visit a sports psychologist, and he cited that as a huge reason in his career turnaround. From then on, Valdez seemed a different pitcher, more composed on the mound. He'd have a great season where he looked great in the regular season and postseason. Following season, he'd have to deal with an injury to his ring finger after taking a ground ball during spring training. They were worried he might miss the whole season, but he returned and pitched great. 2022, he'd be named the opening day pitcher and thrived, making the first All-Star game of his career. But more importantly, Framber Valdez was an integral part of the Houston Astros winning the 2022 World Series. He started and became the winning pitcher in the Game 6 clincher as the Astros beat the Phillies in 6 games. After that great season, Valdez earned a $3.8 million raise in arbitration. Pretty well earned, but damn, that's a good raise. He'd get another All-Star nod, and he'd also pitch the 16th no-hitter in Houston Astros history. He's still doing his thing with the Astros, although he's currently on watch right now. He's been dealing with some inflammation in his pitching elbow. Not what you want to see, especially this year. So many pitchers are getting hurt. Got to take care of Valdez there. Hopefully he can get healthy and continue to pitch throughout the season. Another current pitcher wearing 59, Pittsburgh Pirates reliever Roansy Contreras, another Dominican pitcher trying to make his name in the MLB. Contreras initially signed an international free agent deal with the Yankees, however he never made it to the big leagues with them. He was involved in a trade with the Pirates for the Yankees to get Jameson Taillon back. Contreras spent more time in the minor leagues before finally getting that call-up in 2022. He struggled a bit as a starter, and to start this season, Contreras and the Pirates decided to move him to the bullpen. Contreras is only 24 still, and he's still developing in the major leagues here. The last 59 to be mentioned from baseball, we're going in the Los Angeles Angels, Jose Siriano. You guessed it, another Dominican pitcher. Signed as an international free agent with the Angels back in 2016. He played in the minor leagues, having to go through Tommy John surgery. He then gets selected to the Pirates via the Rule 5 draft, a rule I only learned about a few episodes ago. It's a rule that prevents clubs from stockpiling prospects in the minor leagues when they could be playing on rosters in the major leagues. He'd have more injury woes that required another Tommy John surgery. But again, he'd sign with the Angels and he'd have a rehab assignment. This time making the 40-man roster, preventing him from the Rule 5 draft again. And he had a good start to the season where he's called up to the big show for the first time. 7 years after signing that initial contract. So good on him. He's got some starts this season and he's looking like an MLB-worthy pitcher. So shows you perseverance and what you can do overcoming adversity. 2 Tommy John surgeries before getting the call-up. That's wild. Go to the NBA, it's a short list. Rajon Tucker wore the 59 during his one season with the Bucks, and his one season included 2 NBA games. That's it. Tucker played college hoops at Florida Gulf Coast before transferring to Arkansas Little Rock. He went on drafting the 29 NBA draft, spending time in the G League, bouncing around sparingly, getting minutes with the Jazz, Sixers, Nuggets, and those 2 games with the Bucks where he wore 59. But Rajon Tucker took his talents internationally. He's suited up for the Melbourne United in the NBL, and he plays for Italian club Reyer Venezia. So it's good on him, still playing professionally, doing the game he loves, so good on him. We'll go to the hockey rink to wrap this up. First 59 that gets mentioned is Swiss defenseman Roman Josi. Great prospect. Josi would get drafted in the 2nd round by the Nashville Predators. He played with the AHL affiliate Milwaukee Admirals and lighted up before getting that call up to the NHL. He thrived playing in Nashville, making 4 All-Star games, and in 2020 he won the James Norris Trophy, best defenseman in the NHL. And all doing this with the Predators, where he holds franchise records for assists and points. He's loved in Nashville. Josi is currently involved in a tough playoff series with the Vancouver Canucks, so that should be a fun one. We'll get more to that in a bit. But Roman Josi, attacking defenseman, who, like I said, has those franchise records at the age of 33. Great player from Switzerland, too. Next, number 59 gets mentioned, left winger Jake Guentzel. Played collegiate hockey at the University of Nebraska, Omaha, leading to the Penguins drafting him in the 3rd round of the 2013 NHL draft. Guentzel would play with the AHL affiliate Scranton Penguins before getting the call up to the NHL. The rookie had an immediate impact, becoming the first Penguins rookie to score a playoff hat trick. If you know who's come through the Penguins, that's a pretty good deal. And only the 2nd rookie in NHL history to score a hat trick and overtime goal in the same game in the playoffs. The same playoff run would get capped off with the Penguins beating the before-mentioned Roman Josi in the Stanley Cup Finals. Guentzel would have a great seasons in Pittsburgh, twice making the All-Star game, twice scoring 40 goals. Last season was the first of Guentzel's career where he didn't make the playoffs with the Penguins. This season, around the deadline, Guentzel was traded to the Carolina Hurricanes. You could tell he wasn't too pumped to be leaving Pittsburgh, but that's the business side of sports. He's now with the Carolina Hurricanes as they're taking on the New York Islanders as they're trying to win a Stanley Cup. But we'll wrap up the 59 mentions as we finish with Toronto Maple Leafs, Tyler Bertuzzi. Bertuzzi played great for OHL's Guelph Storm, leading to the Red Wings selecting him 58th overall in the 2013 draft. Same draft class as the before mentioned Jake Gensel. But anyway, after getting drafted by the Red Wings, Bertuzzi would suit up for the AHL affiliate Grand Rapids Griffins. Griffin, where he'd get called up to play for the Red Wings and have some success there, making the 2020 All-Star game. Bertuzzi would deal with some back injuries and was dealt to the Bruins, where he played 21 regular season games and 7 playoff games. Once he became a free agent, Bertuzzi signed that one-year deal to join the Maple Leafs, where he's still playing, as they're in a tough series against the Boston Bruins. Bertuzzi's name might ring a bell, well, maybe because he's the nephew of former NHLer Todd Bertuzzi, who we highlighted in episode 44. Tyler Bertuzzi has also picked up fame. You might remember he was the player who refused the COVID-19 vaccine, and he was one of the first players to wear neck guard following the sad passing of Adam Johnson in the UK when he took that skate to the neck. But yeah, a lot of underrated 59s there. Good shout-outs there. We'll go to some quick NFL news here. Before the recording of this podcast, it came out New York Jets have traded bench quarterback, former first-round pick Zach Wilson, to the Denver Broncos, who are going from Wilson to Wilson, as they got rid of Russ for a cheaper Zach. So we'll see what happens if he can resurrect his career in the Mile High City. And a quick hockey mention here. Jeff Carter announced his retirement from the NHL after a 19-year career. He was at the Penguins most recently, but I remember cheering for him when he was the Flyers. Buffalo Sabres have found their replacement after firing Don Granato. A familiar face, Scruffy Lindy Ruff, has been hired back in Buffalo. He coached the club for over 14 years, so he's a familiar face there. We might as well stick with hockey here. You had the NHL regular season wrap up. We had the playoffs start, and this all happened in between episodes, so we got a bit of catching up here. My Flyers caused a bit of a stir as they were trying to make the postseason. They were in a hunt. They were in the hunt. It was a 1-1 game with the Capitals. They needed a regular season win, so in a tie game, they pulled the goalie. It's a risky move, and it backfired. The Caps would score the empty netter, punching their ticket to the playoffs. The Red Wings needed the Flyers to win, and they were going to overtime as this was happening, so a Flyers win wouldn't have mattered. And people are like, oh, Torts did this on purpose. But if you look at the real time of this happening, it'd be pretty crazy for him to set something up like that. I don't know, maybe Torts could do it, but I think just a tough go for the Red Wings and my Flyers as the Capitals sneak into the playoffs. And with the end of the regular season happening, we got to have a quick look at the standouts in the stats department. We didn't just have our fourth, but we had our fifth player join the 100 assist club. First, Edmonton's Connor McDavid achieved the feat, only to have Tampa Bay's Nikita Kucherov match it a few days later. Kucherov led the league in points with 144. Just behind him was Colorado's Nathan McKinnon at 140, while McDavid rounded out the top three at 132. Our Rocket Richard winner is Toronto's Austin Matthews, 1 goal short of that 70-goal milestone, but he finished with a number that might have immature type giggling with 69. Florida Sam Reinhart had 57 goals, Edmonton Zach Hyman had 54, and McKinnon 51 as the group to finish above 50. Rangers Artemi Panarin finished 1 goal shy of the mark. Nashville's Philip Forsberg 2 shy of the 50 mark. Goaltenders, Florida, Anthony Stolarz leading the goals against average and save percentage, but his teammate Sergei Bobrovsky's right up there in numbers, and he'll be starting for the Panthers, but it's pretty impressive to have 2 goalies of that caliber in your roster. So if Bobrovsky's off the case, they can always bring in Stolarz. And looking at the NHL playoffs, we have some good matchups. In the Eastern Conference, the Atlantic Division winning Florida Panthers host the Tampa Bay Lightning, a battle of Florida. Game 1 was a thriller that went to the Panthers' way, and they took the 1-0 series lead. You have an all-Atlantic battle between 2 original 6 teams as the Maple Leafs take on the Bruins, as I mentioned earlier. Game 1 was all Bruins. A 3-goal second period really blew the game up. the Leafs and the before-mentioned Tyler Bertuzzi have their work cut out for them. They're going to need some goals from the NHL's leading goal getter, Austin Matthews, to help turn that series around as Boston leads 1-0. The Rangers are paired up with the Washington Capitals, who just squeezed into the playoffs, as I said. Much like the Leafs, the Capitals would lose the game really in the third period. 3 goals for the Rangers in the second. Really blew the game up, and the Rangers lead that series 1-0. The last Eastern Conference series is between the Islanders and Hurricanes. Game 1 was close until a Stefan Noesen goal put the Carolina Hurricanes ahead. They'd add an empty netter to seal the opening game of the series and take the 1-0 lead. Going out west, we still have 2 series that have yet to start. One should be starting around now. The Central Division winning Dallas Stars host the Las Vegas Golden Knights. And the other series yet to start, the Edmonton Oilers hosting the Los Angeles Kings. And the 2 games that did get played out west, they were dandies. You had a high-scoring affair in front of a raucous Winnipeg crowd. The Colorado Avalanche and Winnipeg Jets would each score 3 goals in the first and third periods. The lone Winnipeg goal in the second seemed to be the difference maker. And, they'd take it 7-6. Big win for Winnipeg. High-scoring game. The last series in the West featured the Pacific-winning Vancouver Canucks hosting Roman Yossi's Nashville Predators. He's getting some mad love this episode. Predators were leading 2-1 going into the third, but things would change in an instant. First, Quinn Hughes would tie the game at 2, and then seconds later, Dakota Joshua would score, and it'd be 3-2. Joshua would add another goal as an empty netter, and the Canucks come back to win 4-2 and take the 1-0 playoff series lead. And like I said, the season ended and the playoffs started in between episodes, so we got to do a quick pick here, just like buying the lottery tickets that don't win. This pick probably won't be right either, but we'll try it. I have the Edmonton Oilers beating the New York Rangers in the Stanley Cup Finals, bringing the Stanley Cup back to Canada for the first time since the Canadians did it back in '93. I was a wee pup. Long overdue. The Oilers deserve it after the resilience they showed from that terrible start to the season. So lots of good playoff hockey. I'm going to be tuning in after this. You better believe it. But we'll go to the Champions League. The Champions League. Cool-ass event that has their own theme song. They had the second legs of their quarterfinals go down during the midweek. We'd have some dramatic endings. Borussia Dortmund hosted Atletico Madrid, showing off that amazing home pitch advantage and facing an uphill battle, being down 2-1 on aggregate coming in. However, 2 goals in a 5-minute stretch in the first half had the German club going into halftime, and more importantly, leading on aggregate. But at halftime, Atletico manager Diego Simeone must have said something. Just 4 minutes into the second half, Atletico would force an own goal by Mats Hummels. And then 15 minutes later, Angel Correa would find the back of the net, tying the match up at 2, but more importantly, putting Atletico ahead on aggregate 4-3. The Dortmund crowd started rallying behind their team, and it seemed to help. In the 71st minute, Nicholas Füllkrug would meet a cross and tie the boat again on aggregate. But just 3 minutes later, Marcel Sabitzer would find the corner of the net, putting Dortmund up 4-2 in the match and putting them ahead 5-4 on aggregate. It would be a nervy ending, but Dortmund would hold on the win, beating the Spanish side and advancing to the Champions League semifinals. The other quarterfinal second leg that was on the same day as the game mentioned before, you had Barcelona hosting PSG, with Barcelona leading 3-2 on aggregate. Just 12 minutes in, the home side would add to their lead. 16-year-old Lamine Yamal would go on a run and set up Rafinha, who found the back of the net, making it 4-2 on aggregate. PSG was looking to answer and appeared to be on a breakaway, but Barca defender Ronald Araujo would take down the attacker and get a straight red card, putting Barcelona a man down just 29 minutes into the match. This changed the whole game. They had to take Lamine Yamal, who is such a creative player. He had to get substituted out for a more defensive player. This changed the whole tide. The extra man advantage would really start to show for the Parisian side. They'd get their goal in the 40th minute when former Barca man Ousmane Dembele would score. Second game in a row scoring against his former club, cutting the aggregate lead to 4-3. In the second half, the PSG pressure continued. Just 9 minutes into the second half, Vitinha would get the ball from a short corner and blast it home, giving PSG the lead in the match, but more importantly, tying the game at 4 on aggregate. Minutes later, Dembele would go down in the box, and PSG were awarded a penalty. I thought it was a tough call, but, it stood. Kylian Mbappe would step up. He'd deliver from the spot, giving PSG the lead in the match, but more importantly, giving them the 5-4 lead on aggregate. In the dying moments of the game, Mbappe would get another PSG, a huge 4-1 road win as they win 6-4 in aggregate and go to the semifinals. The Wednesday's matchups were massive. They were both tied going into the second leg. Bayern Munich hosted Arsenal, and it was pretty even. No goals in the first half. The German host would go on the attack, and his cross would get met by Joshua Kimmich, found the back of the net in the 63rd minute, giving the Bavarian side the 3-2 lead on aggregate. Despite Arsenal's pressure, they could not get the equalizer. Bayern Munich held on to win 1-0, but more importantly, 3-2 on aggregate, punching their ticket to the semifinals. The last quarterfinal fixture was one that I said would have been a finals matchup, not a quarterfinals matchup. But you had Man City hosting Real Madrid. This one was tied at 3 coming in, and it wouldn't take long for the Spanish side to get on the score sheet. Just 12 minutes in, Rodrigo would hit the post, but the ball would come back to him, and he'd dock it right into the net, putting the Spanish Giants up 4-3 on aggregate. The game stayed that score until the 76th minute, where Man City substitute Doku crossed the ball. And it knocked down by a Madrid defender right into the path of Kevin De Bruyne. And De Bruyne, he would score, tie the game up at 2, and make it 4-4 on aggregate. There would be no more goals, and you know what that means, extra time. No more goals in extra time, so you'd have two of the best clubs in all of the world deciding this in penalties. And it looked promising for the English side. Julian Alvarez, he'd come in, he'd score. Then you had Real Madrid's Luka Modric. His shot was stopped, and you're like, what is happening? Modric got stopped? Maybe it's Man City's time. But then the next shooter, Bernardo Silva, one of the worst penalty attempts you'll ever see, softly kicking it directly at the keeper who just stood there. That would be followed up by Jude Bellingham smashing into the net. And then Man City again, Mateo Kovacic, his shot was stopped. Each player would score their remaining shots, including Rudiger, who put his shot into the back of the net and sent Real Madrid to the finals. Real Madrid keeper Andre Lunin, what a great shootout. 2 saves, and the one save against Kovacic. Kovacic and Rudiger played together at Chelsea, and you could see Rudiger point to his teammate, and he made the save. But we don't have to wait long for our semifinal fixtures. Not this week, but next week we have our semifinals already. A couple great games in Germany as Bayern Munich host Real Madrid on Tuesday, April 30th, and Borussia Dortmund host PSG on May 1st. The second leg of those semifinals will be taking place the following midweek, with the teams who played Tuesday playing Wednesday, vice versa. Oh, the teams left, I think Bayern Munich's going to win this thing. Mostly because they're not winning the Bundesliga. We know Leverkusen's already won it. And after winning 11 titles in a row, Bayern has to win something. They're a team that wins, and I imagine them winning the Champions League. We'll see what happens. It's a lot of footy to be played. We'll go to the younger cousin of the Champions League, the Europa League. Roma won 2-1 over Milan, winning on aggregate 3-1 as they punched their tickets to the semifinals. Marseille and Benfica. Benfica had a league on aggregate coming in. Marseille won the game 1-0. Went to penalties where they would thrive and beat Benfica, knocking the Portuguese team out. West Ham, we were down 2-0 to Leverkusen coming in. I didn't think we were going to win on aggregate, but I'm like, you know what? If we win 1-0, we can ruin the streak of Leverkusen. But no, they got a late equalizer and the game would end 1-1. So they win 3-1 on aggregate and still remain unbeaten. It's crazy the run they've had. And the final game was between Liverpool and Atalanta. Atalanta had that 3-0 lead on aggregate. Liverpool can only get one back, and they're knocked out of the tournament as Atalanta advance. And just like I said for the other tournament, these games will be going on May 2nd, Thursday, May 2nd, where you'll have Marseille against Atalanta. And Roma, they're the next team up to try to knock down Leverkusen. And the following leg will be played the next week. So that'll bring us to the weekend footy. You had some FA Cup semifinals. Man City taking on Chelsea. Man City had more of the ball, but Chelsea had some pretty good chances themselves. Both keepers making big saves. Chelsea's free kick looked like it hit a Man City arm. VAR said, you know what, that's not a penalty. And this was huge because Kevin De Bruyne, not too long later, he'd go on a run, and his cross would find Bernardo Silva, who had his shot deflected on the way in. His 84th minute goal would prove to be the difference, and a little bit of redemption for Silva, who, like I said, had one of the worst penalty attempts you'll ever see in that loss to Real Madrid. So it's good to see Man City punch their ticket to the FA Cup final if you're a Man City fan. The other semifinal was David and Goliath. You had championship side Coventry taking on Manchester United, one of the biggest names in football. And it wouldn't be the best start for Coventry. The Premiership side got off to the better start. Scott McTominay put Man U up just 23 minutes in. Then the first half stoppage time, a Man U corner would find Harry Maguire's big head and it would hit the back of the net. And Man U led 2-0 going into halftime. And things got worse for Coventry when Bruno Fernandes would have his deflected shot go in, making it 3-0 Man U after 58 minutes. You're like, this is over. Nope, Coventry would start their comeback. 71st minute, Ellis Sims would find the corner, making it 3-1. 8 minutes later, Callum O'Hare would try his luck from long range. It looked like it rolled off the back off of Wan-Bissaka and looped into the net. Suddenly it's 3-2. And then deep in the stoppage time, Coventry looking for an equalizer. The ball hit Wan-Bissaka's arm in the box, giving Coventry a penalty. Haji Wright would step up, blast it home, tying the game up at 3, sending this semifinal to extra time. Jubilation for Coventry as they scored a stoppage time winner deep in extra time, but all for nothing. VAR found it was offsides, goal disallowed. We're going to penalties, and things looked to be even worse for Man U when Casemiro's shot was slow and right at the keeper. Each shot after was made until third shooter, and one of the goal scorers, O'Hare, came up. His shot stopped by Onana. After Fernandes made his, Ben Sheaf would step up and launch it over the net. Rasmus Holland stepped up, hit the winner for Man U as they knock Coventry out of the tournament, ending their Cinderella run and setting up an all-Manchester final, May 25th. Like I said, at a Battle of Manchester. It'll be interesting to see who takes that one. Obviously, City's the favorite, but we'll see what happens. Takes us to the Premier League, which started its weekend off with a goal-filled game between Luton and Brentford. Visitors dominated this game, Brentford easily taking it 5-1. A brace by Wissa, goals by Pinnock, Lewis Porter, and Kevin Schad. Brentford only had one. They allowed a late stoppage time goal, and they gave the ball away in their own end, and Luton Town's Luke Berry scored. A brutal way to give up the clean sheet, but like I said, Brentford, they could have had 8 or 9 goals in this. Kudos to Luton Town keeper Thomas Kaminski. This game could have been way worse. Another wild fixture featuring two teams that were promoted last season and struggling to stay alive this year. Sheffield United hosting Burnley, and in a span of 2 minutes, the visitors would jump out to a lead. Jacob Brun-Larsen's deflected shot would find the back of the net, and Lorenz Assignon would double the lead just after. 7 minutes into the second half, Gustavo Hammer would give the home crowd something to cheer about when he'd curl his shot into the net. But that excitement was short-lived. Not even 6 minutes later, Lyle Foster would find himself wide open, making it 3-1. Then Johan Berg Gudmundsson would add another as Burnley win 4-1 on the road, continuing the tough times for Sheffield United. Arsenal hosted Wolves after getting knocked out of the Champions League midweek, and they were hoping to get their crowd going here. They'd opened the scoring just before halftime when Leandro Trossard would hit it with the outside of his boot, curling it into the net. It stayed that way until stoppage time when Wolves were pushing and leaving themselves exposed, where Martin Odegaard would put the icing on the cake by scoring as they went 2-0 on the road. In a battle of relegation teams, Everton would open the scoring in the 29th minute when Idrissa Gueye would get the ball in the box and find the corner. Then you didn't know which way this game was going to go, but in the 76th minute, Dwight McNeil would fire a low and hard shot from the parking lot to hit the inside of the post and went in as Everton take the 2-0 win. Crystal Palace hosted West Ham, and as a West Ham fan, you just wanted to look away. The humanity. Crystal Palace was up 4-0 after just 31 minutes. Like, WTF, mate. First, Elise would score a header 7 minutes in. 9 minutes later, West Ham's Kurt Zouma gave the ball right away, and Eze would score. 4 minutes from that goal, Emerson put it in his own net. And then we'd go a whole 11 minutes before we'd see a goal, and Mateta would score. Like I said, 4-0, 31 minutes. It was brutal. West Ham showed some pride when Mikel Antonio would get one back before halftime. But Eze would pass the ball right through Zuma's wickets to Mateta, who scored his second of the game. But West Ham would literally get given a goal when Tyreek Mitchell went to lob it back to his keeper, who took his eye off the ball and just let it go right in the net. It would be bigger news, except it was 5-2. Crystal Palace humbled West Ham. Aston Villa hosted Bournemouth, and it'd be the visitors that jumped ahead. Bournemouth would get taken down in the box, and Dominic Solanke would step up, knocking in his 18th Premier League goal of the season. And they led after 31 minutes, but in the dying stages of the first half, Morgan Rogers put on the brakes. You see the defender fly by. Rogers composed himself, buried the shot. We have a tie game going into halftime. Villa looked like a totally different team in the second half, dominating the ball, getting a 57th minute goal from Moussa Diaby, followed by a 78th minute cincher by Leon Bailey, who had it set on a plate for him by Ollie Watkins. Massive 3-1 comeback win for Aston Villa. The last match of the weekend, the Premier League, featured Fulham hosting Liverpool. Liverpool would open the scoring with a beauty of a free kick by Trent Alexander-Arnold, another goal for his highlight reel. The visitors looked to take their lead in the halftime, and Timothy Gastain would score his first goal in Fulham colours, and the game was tied going into the break. But Fulham would regain their lead just 8 minutes into the second half. A terrible pass by Fulham's Alex Iwobi set up Liverpool to find Raven Gravenberch, who would smash one in from outside the box, hitting the inside of the post on the way in. His first Premier League goal. Excuse me. And Diogo Jota would add one more goal to ice it for them. A big 3-1 win for Liverpool as they needed the win. Many makeup games coming up this week, so you check your schedules. We'll have some games making up match day 29, so Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. There'll be some games coming up. Keep your eyes on those. The Arsenal-Chelsea game, that one should be really spicy, so we'll see what happens there. A lot of pressure on Man City to get a good result against Brighton. So we'll look at the Premier League table here, and there are quite a few teams that are not on equal games played, like I said, but Arsenal sit atop the league right now, even on points with Liverpool, just on their goal differential. And Man City sit 1 point behind them in that third spot, but they do have that game in hand. Aston Villa round out the top four. They have a 6-point lead over Tottenham, but they have 2 games in hand over the Hotspurs. The bottom of the table, things aren't looking good for Sheffield United. Still in last place with only 16 points. Burnley's win over Sheffield United was big as they have 23 in the 19th spot. Only 2 points above Burnley sit Luton Town, who's 25, have them in the last relegation spot. Nottingham Forest are just 1 point above the drop zone after their loss to Everton. They're nowhere near being safe. Everton are 4 points above Forest and have a game in hand. So nothing's set in the relegation spots as teams try to stick around for next season. We go to the Bundesliga. The German top flight kicked off with Eintracht Frankfurt hosting Augsburg. Augsburg got off to the perfect start when they stole the ball on Frankfurt's end, and Vargas would easily score, giving the visitors the lead just minutes in. And it was a game of two halves. Schwab would score in the 55th minute, followed by Ekititi in the 61st, and the dagger by Omar Mamouche in stoppage time. Big 3-1 comeback win for Frankfurt. Heidenheim hosted Leipzig, and the visitors would get an easy one. Benjamin Sesko would find himself alone in the box, and he'd score an easy one, giving Leipzig the lead going in the halftime. Heidenheim would equalize when Dovdin would score off a set piece in the 69th minute. Excuse me. But Starboy, Lois Openda, he'd do what he's done lately, and that's score game winners. He'd get a tap in after a lovely setup in the 85th, clinching the big 2-1 road win for Leipzig. Wolfsburg hosted Bochum, and it looked like the visitors opened the scoring, but VAR found it was offside. And that was huge because minutes later, the home side would score, and it would actually count. Jonas Wind firing at home. And that'd be the only goal as Wolfsburg take the 1-0 victory. A massive battle between two bottom teams in the Bundesliga as they hope to survive and play top division footy next year. Köln hosted Darmstadt, and after a scoreless first half, visiting Darmstadt would score off a corner kick in the 57th minute. Christoph Clare would slide it through everyone's legs, it seemed, on the way to the net. Then in the 90th minute, they'd add a crazy win. Darmstadt does not win very often, so to see them get that win, very impressive. Hoffenheim hosted Mönchengladbach in perhaps the game of the weekend in the Bundesliga. Weghorst would open the scoring for Hoffenheim in the 36th minute after a dreadful Mönchengladbach giveaway, but the visitors would respond just 3 minutes later when Robin Hack would make a run and beat the keeper. The game stayed that way until the 58th minute when Grisha Promel blasted a beauty from long range to put Hoffenheim up again. Another Mönchengladbach giveaway in their own end led to Ozan Kabak unleashing a rocket that found the back of the net, giving them a 3-1 lead after 66 minutes. But the visitors wouldn't quit. They'd get 2 more goals for Robin Hack. A wonderful header in the 78th, followed by a blasting shot that caught the keeper off guard in the 89th, completing his hat trick, tying the game at 3 all at the same time. The game seemed destined for a draw until Anton Stach scored a stoppage time winner putting Hoffenheim up for the third time in the match and the final time as they win 4-3. Big win for Hoffenheim. Union Berlin hosted Bayern Munich, who were beaming with confidence after knocking Arsenal out of the Champions League midweek. They continued that great play. Goretzka scoring the opener, and then Harry Kane curling in a free kick just for the halftime whistle as they led going in the halftime. The second half, they'd get a brace by Thomas Müller and a goal by 18-year-old Matisse Tell. You could see Neuer was pissed off after Bayern allowed a 90th minute goal by Vertassen, ruining his clean sheet. But that gave the Berlin fans at least something to cheer about on a night that didn't have a lot for them to cheer about. Werder Bremen hosted a tough Stuttgart team who were coming unbeaten in their last 11. It would be the home side that opened the scoring. Bremen would get taken down in the box, and Marvin Duksch would step up and score. Just minutes into the second half, Stuttgart looked to equalize, but Bremen keeper Michael Zetterer made a huge save, which triggered a counterattack where Duksch would score the second of the match, putting them up 2-0. The 71st minute, Stuttgart would get one back through Dennis Undav, but that's all they'd get. 2-1, big win for Werder Bremen, ending their 7-game winless run in the Bundesliga. Dortmund hosted Leverkusen with both teams feeling pretty good about themselves. Dortmund just knocked Atletico out of the Champions League. Well, Leverkusen had clinched the Bundesliga title and drew with West Ham midweek, as I said, to keep their Europa run going. Also, did I mention Leverkusen had not lost in 44 games across all competitions? But this unbeaten run looked a little in jeopardy. 81st minute, Niklas Füllkrug scored, putting Dortmund up. And you can see the Leverkusen and their supporters were a little nervous, but deep in the stoppage time, just as they've done all season, Leverkusen would equalize. The ball came to Stanisic, who put the ball in the net, the 97th minute, tying it up just before the final whistle, extending this legendary unbeaten streak to 45 games across all competitions, unbeaten in 30 in the Bundesliga. No team's ever gone undefeated the entire season in the Bundesliga, so we'll see if they can do this. We're witnessing history, folks. The Bundesliga wrapped up with Freiburg hosting Mainz, and the home side went ahead in the 6th minute through Michael Gregorisch, but Mainz would respond in the 40th through Jonathan Burkhardt. And despite Mainz dominating the ball, we wouldn't get another goal, and that game would end 1-1. So with these big results over the weekend, there's been movement in the Bundesliga table. Not at the top. We know Leverkusen have clinched the title, and they are now looking to become the only team, like I said, to ever go unbeaten in a campaign. But in second place, you have Bayern Munich sitting alone with 66 points. That Stuttgart loss to Bremen was massive, as they now sit third, 3 points behind Bayern Munich. Leipzig sitting fourth, 4 points behind Stuttgart, and only 2 points ahead of the 5th place Dortmund. The bottom of the table, Darmstadt's big win over Köln has kept their slim chances alive as they're at 17 points. Köln are just above them with 22 points, and Bochum sit in that last relegation playoff spot, 27 points. They're all tied with Mainz on points, but Mainz have the better goal differential. It's just crazy what Bo Henriksen has done with that club since he's taken over. They look destined for relegation till he took over. Union Berlin in 14th only have a 2-point cushion over that last spot, and the 12th to 16th spot is only separated by 4 points. So Mönchengladbach and Wolfsburg, you are not out of the water yet. Lots of important footy coming down the stretch here. La Liga, Athletic Bilbao hosted Granada, and they were looking to pick up the home win. The visitors would open the scoring off a corner kick, and Inaki Williams knocked into his own net, giving Granada the early lead. But then the 24th minute, Guruceta would knock the rebound into the back of the net, tying the game at 1. And despite Bilbao having 68% of the ball, they could not find a winner. Granada would preserve the draw 1-1. Celta Vigo hosted Las Palmas, and the visitors got out to a great start. Juanma Herzog scored a header from a corner kick, and 11 minutes in, Las Palmas had the lead. But then in less than a 2-minute span, Celta Vigo took over. Diego Aspas in the 37th minute, followed by William Svedberg in the 39th. And the game stayed the same until the 71st minute, where Celta Vigo would go on the very rare 3-on-0 breakaway where Daviscus would score. And just 5 minutes later, Diego Aspas got his second of the game. Easy 4-1 win for Celta Vigo. Osasuna would go on the road to take on Rayo Vallecano, and they'd get the opening goal on a build-up that had the ball bouncing everywhere until it bounced to Boa Gomez, who found the inside of the post and put Osasuna up. Rayo Vallecano would turn up the pressure, but it looked like they'd never really get a goal until a corner kick had the ball come to Pep Chavriera, who unleashed a rocket from outside the box, tying the game at won after 80 minutes. And while the home crowd was buzzing, they'd get even more buzzier. Not even 4 minutes later, EC would pick the ball up and go on a short run before blasting it home. And in less than 4 minutes, Rayo Vallecano went from a goal down to up 2-1, which is what the game would end at. And they'd take the big win at home. A big matchup between Valencia and Real Betis went down. 19 minutes in, Ayoze would outmuscle the defender and tuck his shot in, giving Real Betis the 1-0 lead. The game stayed the same scoreline until the second half after an elbow was thrown in the box. A penalty was awarded to Valencia. Pepelu would score from the spot, and the game would be tied after 66 minutes. Valencia looked like they were going to score again, but Betis keeper Rey Silva made an outrageous save. That save was huge because moments later, Perez would get his second of the game as his deflected shot hit the net, and Real Betis get the 2-1 road win. Girona hosted Cadiz as they were looking for a bounce-back win. Eric Garcia put them ahead 9 minutes in. Girona would keep up the pressure, and Ivan Martin would double the lead after 22 minutes. There'd be some time before the next goal, but it'd come in the 71st minute. The home side would score again, this time through the patience of Artem Dovbek. Girona were up 3-0 after 71 minutes. Escalante would get one back for the visitors in the 81st when it just crossed the line. But that didn't even last a minute when a terribly misplayed ball by Cadiz keeper Ledesma led to Porto easily going around the keeper and tapping it in, and Girona pick up the 4-1 win over Cadiz. Getafe hosted Real Sociedad in a tough game. The visitors got out to a great start when Ander Berenexta would head the ball in after 13 minutes. A fury in front of the net led to another cross by Getafe, and Oscar Rodriguez would head the ball in, tying the game at 1. Despite Real Sociedad having the ball 61% of the game, this one would end in a 1-1 draw. Almeria hosted Villarreal, and it would be the visitors who got the first goal. Ilyas Akamach would score after 25 minutes, finding the back of the net to put them up 1-0. Didn't even last 5 minutes, that lead. A looping cross in the box was headed in by Lozano, and the game was tied at 2. In the 87th minute, Ramazani was given his second yellow card for touching the face of a Villarreal player. It didn't look that bad, very marginal, but it was a second yellow, and they were down to 10 men. And Almeria being down a man, it really started to show when Alexander Sorloth would get the game winner. And it would be a crushing loss for Almeria, but a big win for Villarreal as they take the win 2-1. Alaves would host Atletico Madrid, who are looking to bounce back from that elimination in the Champions League, and they would not get the start they wanted. 15 minutes in, Carlos Benavides would score with a low curling shot and found the corner. And Atletico, they dominated possession, 69% of the ball. And late they were looking for an equalizer, but they left themselves open. And Luis Rioja would score on the counterattack with a beautiful volley. Big 2-0 win for Alaves. And then the biggest match of the weekend. You had the El Clásico in the Bernabeu in Madrid. Real Madrid and Barcelona. We get an early goal off a corner kick. Andreas Christensen would tower over Toni Kroos to give Barcelona the 1-0 lead just 6 minutes in. Real Madrid would look to answer and get taken down in the box where Vinicius Jr. would step up and beat the keeper, tying the game at 1 after 18 minutes. And it looked like Barcelona went ahead on a corner kick, but it was stopped at the line. It looked so close. I'm like, why aren't they checking the goal line technology? Only then I realized La Liga doesn't have that technology. Are you kidding me? What's the reason on that? We'd get a goal that counted in the 69th minute. A Barca shot was initially stopped, but Fermin Lopez was right place, right time, knocking the rebound in, putting Barcelona up for the second time in the match as they led 2-1. But this lead didn't last long. 4 minutes later, Vinicius Jr. would spot an uncovered, and I mean uncovered, Lucas Vazquez in the box. He'd easily beat the keeper, tie the game up at 2 after 73 minutes. And then in stoppage time, Real Madrid's low cross would go past Joselu right to Jude Bellingham, and the Englishman would smash into the goal, giving Real Madrid their first lead of the match as they went up 3-2 in the 91st minute. And that's how the game would end. Another El Clasico, another classic. Real Madrid winning 3-2 and inching closer to clinching that La Liga crown. So looking at the table, Real Madrid sit atop at 81 points. Second place, Barcelona was 70. But they've opened up the door for Girona to sneak up behind them. Girona's in third place, just 2 points behind Barcelona. Atletico Madrid round out the top 4 with 61, and Athletic Bilbao just outside looking in with 58. Looking at the bottom of the table, things aren't looking good for Almeria, 14 points in the basement. Granada at 18, they could have really used a win there in this past week. They're in a tough spot. 18th, though, Cadiz at 25. They're in a real tough spot. That win for Celta Vigo was huge because they have now a 6 point cushion over Cadiz. So those bottom three, they're in a bit of trouble right now. Also, the Monday game featured Sevilla and Mallorca, where Sevilla, they'd have a 2-0 lead. Both goals coming within 14 minutes of each other in the second half. Mallorca would get one late, but too little, too late, and that's how it would go for them. We go to Italy, Serie A. Lazio went on the road to take on Genoa, and despite dominating possession, they were struggling to find a goal until the 67th minute, where Luis Alberto had a nice pass come his way, and he'd find the back of the net. That'd be the only goal of the match as Lazio picked up the 1-0 win. Struggling side Cagliari hosted Juventus in a game that looked very one-sided on paper, but we all know the game's not played on paper. Cagliari were awarded a penalty on a tough call on Juventus. It hit the defender's arms, but I didn't know where he could put his arms. The future of footy is armless players, by the way. But anyway, VAR upheld the call. Penalty chance. Gianluca Gastano would step up and slot it home. The home side led 1-0 after 30 minutes. Minutes later, Cagliari would go on the attack again and again get taken down in the box, this time by the keeper. Defender Yeremina would step up and score from the spot. 2 penalties scored 6 minutes apart. Cagliari sitting in the driving seat. That second goal really woke up Juventus, though. They dominated the ball. 75% of the ball was Juventus's. They'd get one back. Vlahovic, his free kick right over the wall, right into the corner, cutting the Cagliari's lead in half. With time running out on the visitors, they'd send a dangerous cross into the box. It was not handled well, and defender Dacina would put it into his own net, tying the game up at the 87-minute mark. Juventus wanted that winner, wouldn't get it. Tough for Cagliari, who were looking for 3 points, but a draw is still a good result for them, while Juventus, they'll be kicking themselves. Empoli was hosting defending champions Napoli in a home side and the home side would open the scoring early. Just 4 minutes into the match, Alberto Cherry would head the ball into the back of net, and Empoli led 1-0. Napoli dominated the ball, 74% of it, but they could not get a goal, losing 1-0 on the road to Empoli. A massive win for Empoli in their battle to stay above. Verona hosted Udinese in a game that looked destined for a goalless draw, till a late corner was knocked in by the home side. A thumping header by Diego Coppola in stoppage time was enough to give Verona the 1-0 win. Sassuolo was looking to climb out of the relegation zone as they hosted Lecce, but things would not go their way as Lecce would open the scoring just 11 minutes into the match. A looping free kick would meet the head of Valentin Gendry, who found the back of the net and put Lecce up 1-0. Not even 4 minutes later, Lecce doubled their lead. A low cross that should have been taken by the keeper wasn't, and it came to Patrick Dorgu, who easily scored. Robert Piccoli would add a third, and that'd be it. Easy win for Lecce as they take the 3-0 win on the road. Torino hosted Frosinone, and there wasn't a lot of shots, not a lot going on, and that game would end in a scoreless draw. Fiorentina would open the scoring with a looping header by Christian Kouami in the 80th minute. And then they would ice the game in stoppage time. Salernitana's keeper, Ochoa, made a big save, but the rebound came right to Akone, who put it away. Big 2-0 road win for Fiorentina, their first win in the Serie A since February. Just before halftime, an Atalanta corner would produce the game's first goal. Charles de Ketelaere would meet the cross, putting it to net, putting Atalanta up 1-0. Scoreline stayed that way until Toure would find Lookman, who sent it back to Toure, who found the back of the net, making it 2-0 Atalanta. Monza would get one back when Maldini would cut in and score, but that would be it. The too little too late as Atalanta held on for the 2-1 road win. A matchup featuring two teams hoping to play in Europe next year. We had Roma hosting Bologna. Visitors got off to a wonderful start when Alazuzzi pulled off an overhead kick that hit the post and went in, putting Bologna up 1-0 after just 14 minutes. Just before halftime, the visitors would double their lead when Joshua Zirkzee would put enough on it to get past the line. Goal line technology, La Liga, you should get that, triggered the officials' watch, and it was 2-0 Bologna going into halftime. 11 minutes in the second half, Roma would get one back. Asmun would have his first two efforts stopped, but his third would find the back of the net, and it was 2-1. Roma lost the ball inside Bologna's half, and it would get sent to Alexis Salamakers, who would finish, putting Bologna up 3-1 as they hold on to take the 3-1 win. How would you end this wild craziness of the Serie A? Well, with a Milan derby, of course, you'd have a battle at the San Siro. An early corner led to Francisco Acerbi finding himself open in the box, and he headed in, giving Inter the 1-0 lead after 18 minutes. The game stayed fairly even, but then Inter would double their lead just 5 minutes into the second half. Marcus Thuram showed off his strength holding off a defender, then showed off his skill when he'd fire it past the keeper, putting Inter up 2-0 after 49 minutes. AC Milan turned up the pressure a bit, and they'd finally find their goal. After initially it was saved, the ball would come to Tamare, who would score and make it 2-1 after 80 minutes. These teams do not like each other, and as the game was winding up, it would get feisty. A little scuffle, you'd have some red cards getting handed out. Teo Hernandez from AC Milan dismissed. You'd have Denzel Dumfries from Inter dismissed. AC was still pushing, trying to get their win there. And with a last-second kick, the kicker was coming up. But again, another scuffle going in the box. Calabria would throw his arms around, catch someone's face, get a red card of his own. AC Milan would play the last few moments with 9 men, and they could not get their goal. Losing 2-1. Inter Milan clinched the Scudetto, their 20th Serie A title, and yeah, they did it in great fashion, beating their rivals. What a way to win it. Congrats to Inter Milan and Canadian Buchanan, who plays for Inter Milan, and Canadian to win the trophy. You don't hear a lot of Canadians doing that, that's for sure. So we'll look at the table. No reason to look at the top, as Inter are your Serie A champions. AC Milan, they're in second with 69. Juventus, 5 behind them in the third spot. Bologna, they're sitting in fourth with 62, but they could catch Juventus now. Roma, with that loss to Bologna, that really could have hurt their Champions League chances. And now Atalanta and Lazio are right behind Roma too for those Europa spots. So really a tough week for Roma here. But looking at the bottom of the table, Salernitana is definitely getting relegated. But above them, that's where shit gets really interesting. From 14th to 19th, you only have a 6-point differential. Right now, Sassuolo at 26 in that 19th. Frosinone is tied with Udinese on 28, and with Udinese having a game in hand and a better goal differential. But then you have Empoli, Verona at 31, Cagliari at 32, so that's why that draw was very important to them. So very important games all across the table in the Serie A. So that brings us to France to end up our European footy here. Nice hosted Lorient. It was a pretty one-sided game. First half goal by Morgan Sanson had Nice on their way. They'd get 2 more goals, and Nice cruised to a 3-0 win. Nantes hosted Rennes, and a game was pretty even after a scoreless first half. But the goals would come, though, in the second. Calimundo would open up the scoring when he found himself open in the box. 10 minutes later, he'd get pulled down on the attack while in the box by the keeper, setting up Beauregard for the penalty. He'd score, putting him up 2-0. Amin Guerri would add a third as Rennes pick up the 3-0 road win. Lens hosted a relegation battle in Clermont-Foot, and just minutes into the match, the home side would get awarded with a penalty. One of those players where the attacker just puts his foot in front of the defenders. Regardless, it was a penalty. Sitakoa would step up, hit from the spot. And after 3 minutes, Lens led 1-0, and that's how the game would end. A tough blow to Clermont-Foot as they lose a tough one there. Le Havre hosted Metz in a relegation battle, 2 teams hoping to stay above this year. After a scoreless first half, it would just take seconds in the second to get our goal. Georges Mikataze, he's been on fire of late. He'd get a rebound putting into the nets. The Mets lead 1-0, and that's how they win. They take the 1-0 lead, and as we get to the table, you'll see how big of a win that was for Mets. Lille hosted Strasbourg, and Canadian Jonathan David would score the only goal of the match. 12 minutes in, a ghastly giveaway from Strasbourg led to one pass to David, who would find the back of the net. Only goal of the match as Lille take the big win. Reims hosted Montpellier in a tough matchup. Visitors opening the scoring when Sagna's header looked to get cleared off the line, but goal line technology verified it was a goal. Montpellier led after 26 minutes. The home side would get one back in the 66 off a corner kick. Agbagadou would head the ball into the net and tie the game at 1. The game looked like it'd be a draw, but Montpellier would launch a long ball, sparking a counterattack, and Moussa El Tamare would show off his strength, keeping the defender at bay, then finding the net. Beautiful play, 86-minute goal winners. Montpellier pick up the surprising win. Brest would host Monaco in a battle of 2 teams looking to participate in Europe next year. As the half was coming to the close, we'd get our first goal of the match. Dennis Zakaria would get the ball outside the box, and wow, would he curl a beauty into the net, giving Monaco the 1-0 lead after 40 minutes. Just 3 minutes into the second half, Monaco doubled their lead. Former Liverpool player Minamino would extend his leg to redirect the ball into the net. The game stayed the same score, but we'd have a few dismissals. Seguier was given a straight red for dissent. And deeper in the stoppage time, Wilfred Singo jumped up to compete with the keeper. He was deemed a little aggressive. He'd get a straight red. So Brest down 2 goals, down 2 players, dropped the game 2-0 to Monaco. Toulouse hosted Marseille in a tough Liga battle. The visitors opened the scoring in the 38th minute when a deflected shot would loop into the box, and Jean Onana would head the ball into the net. Toulouse would equalize just before halftime when Rasmus Nicholson would beat the keeper to the cross and find in the back of the net. Toulouse would then take the lead for the first time in the 82nd minute when Boho would fire one into the net. But deep in stoppage time, Marseille blasted into the box, hoping for anything. The ball would bounce to Faris Moumbagna, who had an amazing over-the-head kick that beat the keeper and tied the game at 2 in the 96th minute. A dramatic way to end a 2-2 draw. The last game of Liga, and this one had some hype coming into it, PSG and Lyon. And the home team would force a tough own goal just 3 minutes in. The team from Paris would double their lead, then not even 3 minutes later, Lucas Beraldo would smash it into the top of the net from close proximity. The 32nd minute, Giancarlos Ramos would add a third, and PSG were killing it. 5 minutes later, Lyon would get one back when Ernest Nuama would find the corner from long range. Then another 5 minutes would pass, and we'd get a second by Ramos, who would put PSG up 4-1, and we get no goals in the second half. Everything came in the first, and PSG take the big win. So looking at the table, PSG's got an 11-point lead atop the table. They're getting closer to clinching the title. They have that lead over Monaco. Third place, Brest is just 2 points behind Monaco. That was a big game, that one, that they lost. Lille are creeping up. They are just 1 point behind Brest for that last Champions League spot. And Nice are sitting outside looking in at 47 points. So lots of big games in the Liga as well. But we'll go from kicking to swinging here, going to the MLB, ripping through this. The Blue Jays won 2 out of 3 in their series with the Yankees, again coming close to a sweep. They then go on the West Coast and again winning 2 out of 3, this time against the Padres. The Blue Jays are out of the AL East basement, just barely ahead of the Rays, but a damn AL East, everyone's above 500. The Jays have a 4-game series in Kansas City starting today before returning home and taking on the superpower LA Dodgers in a 3-game stand. So let's hope the Jays can keep up these winning ways. As long as they keep winning series, they should start to move up the standings. The Orioles have sole possession of the AL East with a slim lead over the Yankees. The AL Central has the Cleveland Guardians leading the way. On the AL West, the Rangers have a small lead over the Mariners in the division. The National League, the Atlanta Braves and Phillies are tied atop with wins atop the NL East. NL Central has 4 out of the 5 teams above 500, with, of all teams, the St. Louis Cardinals in the basement. The NL West is led by the Dodgers, but the Padres, Diamondbacks, and Giants are all right in there, with the poor Colorado Rockies sitting in the basement of that division. But before I jump to the next sport, I have some melancholy news. For anybody that loved watching sports trivia shows back in the day, you might remember the show Stump the Schwab. Man, what a show. It was a researcher for ESPN who knew everything and people would challenge him. As a kid, I always wanted to go on this show. But I'm mentioning this because Howie Schwab passed away over this past week at the age of 63. He was dealing with some health issues, but man, I didn't realize it. This guy was a pretty big influence in my life and why I love sports trivia. So got to shout him out on this podcast, and may he rest in peace. Big boxing event took place over the weekend. Highly anticipated bout between Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. There was already drama before the fight as Garcia came in at 143, 3 pounds over the 140-pound fighting weight. In a bet, Garcia said he'd pay $500,000 for each pound over he was. So he had to pay Haney $1.5 million for those 3 pounds. That's crazy. That was about the only winning Haney got out of this ordeal. He'd get knocked to the ground 3 different times. And coming into this fight, he hadn't been knocked to the canvas once. Garcia continued to own the fight. He was a big underdog coming in, and everyone expected Haney to continue to be undefeated, but despite some weird judging, someone called it really close. It was all Garcia. He won it. He couldn't take the belt because he came in overweight. I have trouble finding belts myself that way. But the win, this will boost his confidence. And many were wondering what's up with Garcia after his loss to Davis. But it looks like he's back on the right path. They said he was drinking every night leading up to it. He said it might not have been the best, but it worked out. You know, he might be throwing his name in there for one of the best boxers in the world. So I'm interested to see what happens next. Who does Garcia fight? Who does Haney try to bounce back from for the first loss in his career? Loving it. A lot of good talent in that weight division. Quick F1 here, the Chinese Grand Prix. Formula One returned to China for the first time since 2019, pre-COVID times. We had a sprint leading up to the big race, of course, won by Max Verstappen, with Mercedes Lewis Hamilton and Sergio Perez rounding out the podium. All this built up to the main race, where again, I'm guessing you can guess who won. Max Verstappen, yes, he took the checkered flag. The dominance of the Dutch driver continues, but it was his first time winning in China, so that's something different. McLaren's Lando Norris finished second, while Max's teammate Sergio Perez rounded out the podium. The biggest drama was between Canadian Lance Stroll and Aussie Daniel Ricciardo, as Danny Rick slowed down in the corner, as everyone in front of him did. Lance's eyes were looking elsewhere, and he'd rammed that Aussie from behind. After the race comments, you could see how pissed Danny Rick was, and then when he heard that Stroll blamed him, you could see him boiling, and he's the happiest-go-lucky driver on the circuit, so to see him boiling, you can tell. I don't know what Lance Stroll was doing. The guy, he's a billionaire's son for sure. He's kind of a diva, Canadian, but could we pick a different Canadian to represent us? But then we'll have a few weeks off from F1 before it returns May 5th in Miami for the Miami GP. That'll be an exciting one. So this is episode 59. We're rocking it, doing our thing. And you're like, why are you wearing a Spurs jersey, Rennie? This isn't even an NBA podcast. But I saw, Facebook memories. That's still a thing. 11th year anniversary of me posting that legendary photo on Facebook. You've seen it. I'm sure you have. If you Google on your keyboard, because I'm sure people type like that, you Google the Tim Duncan photobomb. It's the first thing that pops up. It's on Reddit. Article in USA Today for the win, where I reached out to this writer. I said, this is not a staged photo. We have the proof. Because it was just me and my pops taking a photo, and Tim Duncan's on the screen behind looking like he's smelling me. And he's my favorite player. That just makes it so crazy. But I sent it in to the For the Win people, like, here's a group of photos that you can see. This wasn't staged. We were just taking photos of me and my pops. It was just before the series between the Spurs and the Lakers, which the Spurs won, by the way. But I uploaded to the Chive, and it kind of took off from there. It was funny how it blew up. This was pre-TikTok or anything. I'm sounding geriatric even saying this, but yeah, 11 years ago this was posted. It's crazy, and I hold on to this picture because it's a great moment with my dad, and since his passing, this is a great memory and moment I have of him. And like I said, Tim Duncan is my favorite NBA player ever, and I was hoping, Tim Duncan, if you're out there, that one day this picture would help us meet. So if you're watching and happen to know Tim Duncan, I mean, we're grasping straws here. Hook a brother up. He's my hero. Maybe we can talk about the photo, about the team, Wembanyama. Again, this is very ambitious and wishful, but hey, maybe he hates the photo. He's like, that's the fucker from the photobomb. Hey, I don't mind being that guy. If he recognizes me, hey, good on him. But that's the short I mentioned today. I'm going to put the picture on there so you'll see the thumbnail. But yeah, I love the picture. I love what it's brought. It hasn't brought any famous shit, but it's a great talking point, and it's a moment I'll never forget because those reasons I just mentioned. But like I said, this is episode 59 in the book. 59. Lots coming up this week. Keep watching the playoffs. Hockey playoffs are wild. NBA playoffs are in full swing, or full jump shot. If you want to hear the NBA shit, go to the page, go to my NBA recaps. We covering it all. You'll hear who I have winning it all. Right or wrong, it's going to be entertaining. But that's episode 59 in the books, guys. Thanks again for coming out. Tuning in. Ren City out.